now.
Hello and welcome to the Weekly Word. Today is Thursday, August 29th. I'm Morgan West.
And I'm Rich Parler, welcoming our very special guest, Steve Esposito.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, how
Steve,
you guys doing?
Tell our viewers a little bit about ourselves. Is that an exclamation point, or did I put an L there? You did this.
Tell us about yourself.
No, that's an exclamation point.
Oh, okay, good. Steve Esposito. I'm like, that's just weird. I know that's not it. Go ahead. Tell us about yourself. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's all right. I have been a Dungeons and Dragons DM for about 7 to 8 years now.
Woo!
78 years.
You look wonderful, darling.
Yes, whatever you're doing,
tell
please tell
me
us.
your secrets.
It is the 20-step Korean skincare program that my wife has me do. It's amazing. I have also been doing comedy for a couple of years, do some writing
Very cool.
here or there. I have made my way around the improv table a couple of times, and that's where I am right now.
Cool.
With a D&D podcast as well, called Copperpiece.
Oh, I want to hear about it.
We're going to give him plenty of time to tell us about it.
I am going to do many throwbacks to this, and
Cool.
when I do, I'm going to say the phrase, in my past experience, because that's what I do.
Don't care how. I want
Sweet.
it now.
What is that from a show or something?
Really?
Is it?
What?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Ah.
I
Nope.
want a golden goose.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. So let's.
Or is it I want a gold ticket?
No.
They're both the same. Golden
No,
goose.
no,
I don't
no.
care how. I want to know. I said it right.
Okay. I
Right?
believe you. I believe you.
And if I'm wrong, somebody will yell at me and they'll tell me.
Sure. We will
They
hear
will.
from someone. So, Steve, you were the one who proposed our first topic, and it's near and dear to my heart. Made me feel all the feels. I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I have one of my life goals when playing D&D is to make more DMs because we don't have enough of them.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people out there who,
What?
Well, one second. Let's
Okay.
introduce the topic at least
Okay.
before we start, right? So DMing, how important it is and how filled with, how anxious you can become as a DM.
Mhm.
Steve is thinking about the essential role of the DM and his personal goal to show people how easy it can be.
Mhm.
People have anxiety about it, so he can try to talk about the tricks that ease that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve. It's just so
Yes.
that everybody out there, because they don't see the script.
oh, that's fine, that's fine.
Maybe we should post a script.
I am an improv guy, so
No.
that helps a lot.
That's
And
what the.
one of the tricks to being a DM is learning how to improv and go with the flow. That's like probably the number one skill. There's many times at a table someone will say like, "No, you can't do that." When it's kind of fun to say yes,
Mhm.
unless it's like incredibly rule breaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of as a player, that's like one of my favorite things is the unexpected ideas that come up at the table. But as a DM, oh, that's like my least favorite thing. I get this
Yeah.
like deer in headlights moment where I'm like, I am not creative. I have no creative bones inside of my body. What is this? What do you want me to do now? And it's just that moment can like, ooh, I don't like thinking about it.
And that's the thing that's a lot of people get scared of, and I think that's the one thing that keeps people from wanting to become a DM is because they're afraid of the unknown.
Mhm.
Like, oh my god, my players are gonna mess with me so much. Yeah, they are. That's
Yeah.
kind of their job. Like anything you prepare, always be ready for it to be thrown out the window at
Mhm.
like any moment's notice.
Right.
Like I've had that a couple of times, and you just gotta kind of go with it. One of the tricks I do have as well is to repurpose stuff that you've used before
Okay.
in case that scenario happens again. So like I designed something like a long time ago, which was loosely based off of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It was just like
Okay.
a whole idea I had
Sure.
going on where each character they had their bar called Paler's Pub, to kind of go along with it.
Okay.
And my players, I introduced them the grand storyline, and they're like, "We don't want anything to do with that. We want to find the inn." And I'm like, "All right, well, here you go." And I pulled out of a notebook I had
Oh.
that I did like 6 months prior to that night.
It's kind
So
of
it's
like,
like always, yeah, it's like always have these little tricks up your sleeve, and
it's kind of
eventually
like reading
steer
a
the
book.
players where you want.
Yeah, it's kind of like reading a book and then rearranging the words in the book
Mhm.
so that it tells a different story than what you want.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I really think that my problem in that lies rather in the fact that I'm a planner instinctively. It's just what I do, and when plans don't go as they should, I that sense of like shutdown, just I'm there. And I think that just with more experience, with more actual time playing and being
Yeah.
confronted with that, it would eat away. But, scheduling time to play one particular game, in the game that I actually DM, as opposed to playing in the plethora of games that I am like too invested in to like quit, It's hard. It is hard.
So last night, my Wednesday group kicked off again.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're getting towards the end of the summer, and I work on Wednesdays at the store,
Mm-hmm.
we had a swath of we had some new blood, right? So we got together last night and they did a session
No.
0, and in this session right after they were done with the session 0, I gave them the scenario, the background, and gave them a couple of story hints and a couple of hooks right off the bat. And one of the new players said, "Did you have that planned?" And I was like, "No,
That's cool.
no, I didn't. I just made it up on the spot."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
there was definitely, and there used to be anxiety because you always want to try to make sure that everybody's going to have a good time and everybody's going to play.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, Steve. It has a lot to do with years of experience and just learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been DMing for about 2 years or so.
How long? That was like a years.
I took that as 30.
It was a little bit more than 30. A little bit more than 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, you definitely recycle stuff that you pulled up from the past and you rearrange and you do it differently, right? You don't use it exactly the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but you build all this stuff for reasons so that you can keep using it for different situations.
So, Steve, do you have any other tips for the anxious DM?
Oh,
That would
boy.
be my handle, I think. You've got the unloved.
No, I
Anxious-
changed it. Disruptive.
Oh, the disruptive DM.
I'm
like
the
that.
disruptive DM.
Okay.
Just like
that.
technology. Disruptive.
Yeah, oh God, please, like the corporate talk.
I work in corporate America. What do you expect?
Yeah, true. I was there for a while. Another tip I have always is to, when you're thinking about running a game, and I like that Morgan pointed out the whole concept of being organized. The best game to start running, if you're going to run from a book, is Hoard of the Dragon Queen.
Okay.
Because it is super linear. It is the most linear. It's very hard to go off track.
Okay.
Or for the players to go off track because everything is right there in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a second part to that called Rise of Tiamat, and things get a little more different. That becomes a little bit more of like, I don't want to say the words open world, but it gets a little bit more open world. And then you start getting into campaigns like Ravenloft. Chris Estrade's a really great campaign because it's still centralized. It's a little bit like sandboxy, but still centralized to one area. So I found that one to be good. And I'm reading up on, let's see here, Storm King's Thunder, which seems like a nightmare to run. Because once you get to like chapter 2, whole thing's open world, and there's like 30 maps in the book.
Oh, wow.
So they planned out everything.
That's
for
cool,
any
though. I like that.
Yeah, like it's so cool, and it's really good.
I think that's my
a
next
lot.
step, is running a module, like an established, pre-written adventure, because I don't have any experience with that. All of the games that I've run have been either off the cuff or something that I, built up myself, which has been a challenge.
I'm laughing at Dave's comments.
Yeah.
Dave, you can't leave X's. You need to tell us the years. That's number one. And number two is, I remember those character sheets with THAC0 and the hit point, AC, saving throws, equipment section, money section, and blah, 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 blah. So with modules, back to the topic, with modules, there's a couple of things, right? You can play it from the book itself, but the best thing to do is read through it once or twice and make it yours. and just throw some of your flair, and then just don't run it. Like, don't put the module there. Like, I used to do it, and I still did it every once in a while. You put the module book there, and you run it through the module and stuff. Just make it yours. It's even easier. And I found out, if you start writing down your off the cuff stuff, that becomes a module. I think I told you, but I don't know if
Yes, you
I
did
told
last
you,
week.
Steve, Dave from Legendary Realms, who runs our Wednesday night Adventure League games. He runs a first level adventure, and he runs it at conventions all over the place, or whenever he's running for new players. I was like, oh great, what's the name of the module? He's like, it's the one that you gave me. I'm like, what? What? He's like, you remember the one you gave me to play test? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I love that one for new players. I'm like, oh,
That's really cool.
all right, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
he was
it's an
running it.
excellent, it's a nice throwback to you. Like, hey, it did something.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I did do something.
That is really cool.
He said, he said it didn't have a name, but I think it's called Journey to Tal Narath. So I think I just need to put it in there. Maybe I took the title out when he was playtesting it.
Maybe.
So,
Maybe.
that was it. I think it's experience and doing it once, and understand that you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes.
I also come from a music background as well, and one of the things I used to say when we got on stage is when we played our own original music, I was like, no one's gonna know we messed up. Like, no, like you hit a note incorrectly or something, unless it's really bad, no one's gonna know.
That's an interesting
So
point.
that's the same way when it comes to DMing. Like, if you miss a plot point or you miss a hook or something, no one's gonna know that was even there. So, like, all the ideas you have in your head of, like, I might miss something, I might forget something. Do you know what? You might have forgotten it, and that moment might have passed, but that means you get to use it again later. So not everything is lost. So that's the way I see it. And the other thing I have to say too is that DMing is not as much as running the game, but running people. And I discovered that one recently.
It is. It is. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Like, just getting the team to work together, getting them through the challenges, and also getting them to understand the rules to the best of their abilities, because there's a lot of rules.
Right.
It's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Very hard to remember them all.
Sometimes I feel like the rules are less important than just like the standard like social graces. You know? Like, that's sometimes a big challenge for either new players or players who have an established group and are, branching out and playing with other people. But I feel like that, for me, just like looking at table to table what I've seen.
Right.
As you said, like, managing people is a challenge, but also, like, just as a player, it's a challenge to sometimes navigate your place in a group, and try and corral the mightier personalities into a direction where everyone can join them.
You're right, and one of the things I did in the session zero last night is not only what do you want to see, what do you want to play, how do you want to play, what kind of adventures do you want to play, but and Charlie had asked me, is like, well, Rich, what is easier for you to run? I said, don't worry about me. I said, I can write anything. I'm not worried about that. Just tell me, you want more role playing? Do you want city? Do you want, open a lot? Do you want to travel a lot? Do you want more combat? And they work together. I said, also put together a party.
Yeah.
We're not,
right.
Work together.
Yeah.
And they did. They came up with an interesting mix. There's a drow in the party.
Okay.
One of the first time players doesn't know, like, pick drow on her own volition. She had no idea what. I was like, it's a good choice in my opinion. I like drow, but so I think this is a good topic. I think, Steve, this is a topic for a seminar you and I can talk about.
I have always been wanting to do something like that.
Why don't we do it?
Because I love teaching things to people. Like, I don't know, D&D is a very it's the best game I've ever played. Like, someone asked me that the other day, like, what's the best game? I'm like, D&D. I could do so many things in it. I could be a talking bird that asks for scotch on a daily basis. Like, that's one thing I can do. And I love my video games too, but nothing comes close to, like, sitting around a table with people and I feel like that's replaced like couch co-op, you know, and I love it. That's what that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I understand that. So, you know, it's interesting, Steve. We should talk offline. Maybe this could be a TED talk we can do for April.
I will put on a turtleneck sweater and, and I'll wear some khaki pants and
Can
we'll talk about it.
can you also have a bubble pipe?
I will try. Oh my God, yes.
I will. If you do it, I will.
I did a stand-up set where it was 6 comedians, and 3 of us had we had sweater vests. It was February or something.
Oh my
And
God.
one of the comedians took my sweater vest and went up on stage. He's like, I thought we were all wearing these.
Oh my god.
I got it, Steve. Alphabet Adventure.
Alphabet Adventure?
Yeah, you, me, and like 3 other people. You comedy. You know how to do alphabet improv, right?
Oh, yes.
We'll have someone pick a topic, and then we'll start with a random letter, and then everything you say has to start with that letter, and you progress to the next letter, and then when you get it wrong, that person's out, and you continue the story.
Nice.
One of my favorites is And Then, which is kind of what I do in my games.
Yes.
My Monday group has become one of my favorite groups to play as.
Yeah.
To play with, because it's a giant game of And Then, because they went to this town. There's a bunch of cultists there. One of the guys, the bartender, gets their trust, and it's like, oh, so what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, we're looking around for and the only thing I could think of was, you're a barber. You're a traveling barber. And they're like, yeah, we are. And I'm like, and then you did this? That's great.
Yes, that's a good tip right there. They like avoiding but.
Mm-hmm.
You know, picking a way that you can circumnavigate a problem that you might see without having to outright deny or negate something that your players want to do.
Absolutely. I like Eric's point right there. Eric in chat said one time Steve was DMing and they were supposed to escape a prison, so they decided to burn it down instead. Go. Yep. You go, Eric. That's the way you do it.
Fire ends a lot of things.
Players take control.
Yeah.
You know, Shadowrun does a lot of that. Shadowrun is almost all player. And there's no way. You can plan the mission, you can do whatever you want, but there's that one guy with a rocket launcher, and he's going to use it. Grenades, rocket launchers, they're available. They're going to be used.
Yeah. I remember I was talking to another player over the weekend, another fellow DM, Steve Fishman, actually. And he said that the DM gave him a homebrew sword that was just way too good. And he's just like, yeah, I have to give this back to you because I'm going to use it again because it's so good. It was like a sword that he had 3 attacks because he was a fighter, and the sword itself would give you, if you get a critical hit out of any of those 3 attacks, you get a full other turn.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah. And if you had an advantage, you're rolling 6 dice a turn.
Wow.
Pretty good chance of getting a 20.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. So, let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah. More tips. This has been a tip-heavy episode, and I'm loving it.
Yes.
I am full of tips. Oh, that's weird.
Oh, man.
You laid it out there.
I did.
I mean, what was
I'm really good with the setup. All right. So, tonight's D&D tip was brought to us by
Amber, Queen of Dragons.
Amber, Queen of Dragons.
And it's at Ferror.
Ferror.
Thank you. We'll go with that.
Ferror_D&D. All right. And the tip: your players are your greatest assets. Encourage them. Humor them.
Or humor,
them.
depending on how you're reading it.
At times, and watch your campaign story grow a brilliant fantasy.
So dungeon masters who improvise and incorporate their players' spur-of-the-moment decisions enrich the game beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've all had that type of experience where a player's done something so completely unexpected that you had to run with it. And it's worked out better.
Mm-hmm.
Give us an example, Steve.
My Monday group, I love talking about them. First time we played.
They love talking about you too. I just want to point that out.
They decided that I was gonna have the easy opening to get my players, because some of them are new, to understand combat and stuff and what they can use and skills and abilities.
Okay.
So I did a Coliseum battle where they would win a ton of money. They burnt the Coliseum to the ground,
Oh, my
and
God.
instead of me going like, you can't do that, I was just like, you know what? Let's run with this. Let's see where this goes.
You have you play with a lot of arsonists, I'm noticing.
Yeah.
That seems to be the running theme.
I think your players get together, they conspire and say, hey, what's his Achilles heel? Let's set fire to something. He'll let us do that.
I've had that backfire once. In our podcast, there is an episode where my brother decides to light a tree on fire, and it is an evil tree. It's a Golthius tree. So another player, as my brother lights it on fire, casts banishment, which makes the tree disappear for 1 minute. That fire, I made it spread around the entire area, and then he stood in the place where the tree was.
Oh, boy.
Now, if you're standing in the place that the item originated from,
boy.
the item will then reappear somewhere else. And that's where the rest of the party was standing. So,
Oh, my gosh.
fire sometimes is bad.
Oh, my gosh. I thought you were going to say that he started like an interdimensional, interplanar forest fire. That was like, oh, boy.
Almost. Oh, that would have been a good idea. But I thought having 3 of the 4 players go down was a good idea.
Was that the
man.
Sunless Citadel?
No, that was
Oh,
Chris
okay.
Estrade. That was Chris Estrade.
Got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fire's one of those things that like always sounds like a good idea, and very, very rarely was it the right idea.
I liked even in first edition when people started to incorporate the fact that a fireball in a dungeon is still a very bad idea, because the fire's got to go somewhere, and it's going down the hallway and it's coming back.
Yep.
So yes, I like that.
How about you? Do you have any memories or moments where you let your characters, your players'
Well, I think I do.
choices impact?
A lot of time if I'm running an adventure improv, I almost always let the players drive it, especially if I don't have something planned. They often inspire me with ideas. And so if we go back to last year when I GM'd at the convention, at the Long Island Retro Convention, and one of the players decided they were going. 2 players had gone into a building to see if they can get answers, and everybody was supposed to wait 15 minutes for them. After like 2 minutes, the wizard charmed the the bard charmed the wizard and tried to command the wizard to set the building on fire, because he said they're lost, they're never coming back. And I was like, you're doing what? I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. And I gave him a chance, because the wizard completely failed all of her saving throws. So I said, how do you convince her? Because it does go against her nature. So how do you convince her? And he came up with a story, but it wasn't good enough. And I gave him some tips afterwards. I said, had you said this, I would have let you do it. But something like that. It just completely changed the dynamic of how the encounter and how the adventure wound up ending. Because they wound up doing something else when he couldn't get his way.
Right.
And then the wizard knew that the wizard was charmed after that broke. So it was kind of interesting. It was a good way to end the session.
Very cool.
So I love doing that. What about you?
Well, the one that comes to mind that actually has impact, I can't share because the story is ongoing and the girls don't know what they did. And they might now, but
I have plenty of those.
It's a big deal.
Okay.
But they won't find that out for a while. Let's see. One of my characters created a fake name for herself and proceeded to create in-depth relationships with numerous NPCs in a town. So
Priscilla?
No, it was Kara. But so she really set herself up for a challenge at remembering which NPCs got what personas. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
A lot of quick costume changes and darting around corners.
Oh, just like in cartoons.
It was very much like the person who dated too many people and are like, oh no. It was
I
good.
had a very similar situation where my rogue in the Monday group, would give a fake name to every single person he met.
Wow.
And then it turns out that all those people that he was giving fake names to were real people, and they want their identities back.
Oh boy. Oh my God, that's so funny.
That's good.
I love that.
Nice. That's a nice little plot twist you can work in there.
It reminds me of in the Short Rest Chronicles how Nepeta was supposed to be giving fake names, and one of the NPCs was like, "And how do you feel, Nepeta?" I'm like, "Great." I'm like, "Oh, I just outed myself," but it was completely in line with what she would do. So, no harm, no foul.
No
really.
harm, no foul. No, that one was it was deliberate, but it was quite funny.
Yeah, it was good.
So next topic. Tabletop simulators, Roll20 functionality.
Yes.
Do you use it? Why or why not? Or do you use TTS?
TTS, Tabletop Simulator.
I get it.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
If you don't, because they seem complicated or hard to use, here are collections of tips for using Roll20.
Yes.
All right. So, first of all, do any of us use them?
I do.
What do you use?
Roll20.
That's why. All right. So then you brought us this topic.
I did. I brought
talked
this.
about it.
I brought us this topic. I've used Roll20 for a few games that I'm involved in. Most notably, the game that I DM.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself really starting to inch away from it because there was a lot of capabilities that it had as a tabletop simulator that I just couldn't utilize it properly because there was so much I wasn't aware what it was doing or what the actions were I needed to take to get what I needed out of it. So I really took a step back, but I find that I watch a lot of games that use tabletop simulators, and it really is one of those things that, for example, a streamed game or a podcast game, games that aren't played around a table really benefit from, having the DM having access to like the character sheets for all of them right there at the click. They can make changes if the characters have like conditions associated with them. There is a lot of benefits to using a tabletop simulator.
All right, so that's
interesting. It's just one of those things where it can be a bit daunting to use if you've never used one before.
Right. So I don't use them. I did have a license. I spoke with the Roll20 guys, I think pretty sure it's the Roll20 guys. Correct, I may be wrong on that, but spoke with a Tabletop Simulator at Gen Con several years ago.
Okay.
And I got a couple of licenses for the store to use.
Mm-hmm.
And we played around with it for a little bit, and maybe because it was a little bit more immature a few years back, but it wasn't very useful. It wasn't as easy to learn to use, which made it less useful in a store setting. However, Dave at the store uses it. He connects to one of the TVs at the tables, and he uses Roll20 for his games. I don't know what kind of capabilities I will need, but in the online game that I'll do is I have Skype. So I'll be using Skype to get all the players on board, and I use Skype at work, so I know what those capabilities are, and I can really share any pieces of my desktop. So that's going to work.
That's helpful.
Right. So I just, as long as my notes and as long as my maps and stuff, which I find interesting that so I'll have hand drawn stuff, and I can put it up there and still share it with everybody too. So I don't know exactly how I'll do it, but I'm not against looking at something like a Roll20.
How about you, Steve? Have you used a tabletop simulator?
It's funny, actually. I just started learning how to use Roll20 because someone actually asked me if I do online games at all or streaming, or if I've used those. I'm kind of figuring, like, sometimes I feel like the old man yelling at the cloud when it comes to these things, because it's like, oh, Roll20, it's just a phase. Not a lot of people are going to use it. And like 2-3 years later, I'm like, well, maybe I should start learning how to use it.
Yeah.
Especially since I am also looking, come next year, I would like to do my own streaming D&D game on Twitch and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you have to learn how to use some of these things sometimes. Tabletop Simulator itself as an app, I hate that game, and I feel like that's a lot of programming you need to learn. And some people it comes easier than others. You know, the intelligence score sometimes is a little higher for some people. And I've learned. I'm learning a little bit about World 20, and there's another one.
There is another one.
Dwarven Fortress, I think it is. I don't think that's it.
I can't remember it off the
Steve?
top of my head.
Don't move. There's a cat behind you, and I think it's going to attack.
Oh no, she's eating. I got two cats, and they're like, "Oh, now I want you to pay attention to me right now."
I spotted that cat like 5 minutes ago. I was like, "Girl, chill. Don't mention the cat."
Oh man, yeah. There's Sirius and Leia, so that's my two cats.
Okay, cool. Hi, cats.
They won.
But I find that it has its place.
It does.
Roll20 and other programs like it, if you're sitting around a table, it's not going to benefit anyone. It's going to draw you away from one another.
Yes.
But for people who had a gaming group that perhaps was separated due to distance, I think it's an unbelievable asset. But you need to know how to use it, or at least your DM, I think, needs to know how to use it. Even if it's for simple stuff, like I only really use it for combat situations. Anything that's more free-flowing is a theater of the mind situation. You can figure it out. We don't need to know how far apart we are or where you want to be positioned in relation to this building. But in combat scenarios specifically, I like to use Roll20. I like that my players are able to actually see what I'm trying to portray, because everybody's going to picture something differently.
You're right. You're right. I just, we've had that conversation before. I just don't like the restricted. I'd rather players tell me what they want to do and see if they can, and let me tell them whether they can accomplish it. But you're right. People do see things slightly differently. So I've been trying to be more descriptive on those types of things to get their mind going all in the same direction. A push.
Yeah. My players have benefited from having a map. I've done Theater of the Mind a couple of times, and it's good. It can work out, as long as it's all in the DM. It depends on how descriptive you're being, and just I find some people with smaller groups it's easier. 3 to 4 people, it's easy.
Little groups.
When you start getting to 5 or 6 people, it becomes a problem.
Right.
Especially when you have the one guy who takes their cell phone out while you're playing, and they're not paying attention to what's going on.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, just like
exactly.
that. And then they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" And you have to recap an entire round worth of events that happened.
I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't recap.
Ooh.
I don't recap. It's like I don't know. What are you doing?
I remember.
I give them a one-time. Well, what do I see? I will do that, but that's it. Sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's right. One of my players is actually I got a couple of players that are teachers, but this one guy on his cell phone, and I'm like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Hey, you remember that time in school when you weren't prepared and the teacher called on you? I feel like that right now." And I was like, "You are a teacher. You should know this." And yeah.
My answer was always 42. Or 12. Don't ask me why 12. It's just one of those numbers.
So, I think that covers tabletop simulators. If you guys want to talk more about it,
avoid simulation. Go for the real thing.
You can always talk about it in the comments amongst yourselves.
Yell at the cloud.
Yell at someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not that guy. But maybe after you learn it and we all take a look at it, maybe it's something we can review. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Let's move on to the next topic, please.
All right. Well, this is the last topic of the night.
Performance anxiety.
Yeah. There's
more to that, right?
Yeah, there is.
The challenges of. I just wanted to let that hang for a little bit.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Let's bask in the discomfort.
I'm happy that I'm involved in this episode. Performance anxiety right here.
Yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine if it was an episode with CA and TK?
Oh man.
This
Oh,
would have been
man.
all over the place.
Or Tara.
Or
Tara.
Oh yeah.
That would be.
Oh my God, we should get
something.
Tara on with CA and TK.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. All right.
So, performance anxiety. There are challenges that go with playing a social performance game. We all love it, obviously, otherwise, we wouldn't be playing role playing games, but that doesn't change the fact that a lot of people do feel anxious either coming to the table for the first time amongst new players or a new group. Or even like long-term players, people who have been playing for a while and feel a certain level of anxiety about what is expected of them from the people that they're playing with.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely. Well, last night we had a first-time D&D player at our group.
Okay.
Erica came to the session and she didn't know what to expect.
Okay.
And the group sat down. We sat down. We're making characters, so everybody helped walk her through character creation. And there were some things that she didn't get, and some things that we'll have to explain. She doesn't know the rules yet.
Sure.
But
that could be, that's a whole nother part of it.
Absolutely.
It's just not knowing the rules is so stressful.
Absolutely. And, last night, even I realized how much I take it for granted that I just know things.
Yeah.
Right? Even when we were doing ability scores, and I said, all right, use the standard array. So put a 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and an 8, and in these...
That's that's very in-depth for D&D.
Well, absolutely, right? And so she asked me, she's like, well, how did you know those numbers? And so Steve jumped in and said, we just do it so often that we just happen to remember it. And it's true, we just memorize it.
Yeah.
People don't know what a standard array is.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've played with people, like, when you are playing for that first time, they will ask, like, what modifiers you're supposed to be adding, or what dice you're supposed to be rolling. Like, it is... people who play D&D all the time or have played it enough that they know the rules, like, there is so much.
I'm just laughing at John's comment.
Oh, yeah? I didn't read it.
It says, Jonathan, feeling depressed that you can't go the distance anymore?
John.
Well, it's like people differentiating the actual skills and abilities that you have.
Right.
Like, you remember 3.5, it was spot check, listen check, and now it's just perception. And people are like, I want to find something. I'm trying to look at something specifically. Can I roll perception? I'm like, no, you roll investigation.
Right.
I go, but I'm not good in that one.
Well, then explain to me how you perceive it.
Yeah, exactly.
I am going to search for stuff by not exactly looking at it. I'm going to look at my peripherals.
Yeah. Oh my god.
See if I notice anything.
That's
Got
funny.
it.
Yeah,
that just brings to mind, have you played like the Tomb Raider games where, like, if you push in the joystick, it'll like pop up what's like significant around you, like it's like a sixth
No,
sense?
that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's what it's like. It's like, I want to investigate without actually doing anything, like boom, boom.
Cheat code 1.
Exactly.
I got it. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. But
not like those days with Zork. For those on the line who know what Zork is, where if you didn't type out exactly what you were supposed to do, they would just answer, "That's vain," and that's it. You couldn't continue.
Wow.
And it was one of the most frustrating text-based games ever.
No, thank you.
Yes.
No, thank you.
So I would like to, before we move on to anything, would like to note that we are at our highest peak concurrent since starting the show.
Wow.
So thank you very much,
cool.
everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, before we
we don't have to leave it this.
we skip this topic.
We can talk more about.
I feel
your
like
anxieties.
we do have a couple of people, at least one person I know of, who watches our stream, who is a new player, and I feel like it's not. I'm calling you out by name. No, I'm not. I just want to give props to people who have never played D&D before, but like work up the courage to sit down at a table with a bunch of potentially strangers and open yourself up, because D&D really is one of those things where you're you're laying yourself out there for the people that you're playing with, right?
Guts and all.
Yeah, you are though. Even if you're playing this character, but like it's still you making the determinations as to how this character would behave. You are exposing a little bit of who you are inside of yourself
Inside.
to people.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You said exposing yourself.
My God, like
I'm going to be put on a list after this episode.
seriously, like I apologize.
Yeah, Morgan.
Man.
Please.
I thought I was keeping it PG-13. Apparently not.
I get it. I get it. No, and you're absolutely right about that. There's a thing I like to I think of is that a player's first character is somewhat a semblance of themselves, and when you kill that character, not person, when you kill that character,
Now you are going to be on a list.
You kill characters, not players, Steve. We've gone over this.
I've been messing up. Yeah, like you kill a character off, and you can see like the utter heartbreak in some of these players who have never lost a part of themselves, like in this weird imaginary way. And it's heartbreaking as a DM to witness that sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Not for me.
Oh,
you're probably so used to it by now. Do you have like a checklist of like how many characters you killed?
I wish. Actually, it would be a lot lower than you would think.
Yeah.
I only pretend to be against my characters.
Yes, and that's another thing too. I noticed a lot of players are afraid of having their characters killed, and I'm like, I don't like killing characters. I don't. I like telling the story.
Right.
Yeah. I've played with DMs who do like killing characters and would go out of their way sometimes.
I've actually never. I might have been exposed to someone like that and not realized it, but I feel like the bulk of the DMs I've played with, or at least don't like doing that.
I will say though, I have no problem with saying, listen, this game's going to be a meat fest. Right? Yeah. Let's roll up some characters. Don't worry about it. They're probably going to die. And going out there and then just throwing them at a meat grinder. I'm okay with that. But then they know what they're getting into up front. They usually don't make characters. That's where you get a lot of Bobs from.
Right. Yes.
Character named Bobs.
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah, I'm good now.
You good now?
Now I'm good.
All right. You done...
I've praised the new players.
Opening yourself up to turn a phrase to everyone.
Yes, I am.
Letting everyone see what's inside of you?
Yeah, it is. It's important.
It's gross.
Lots of sunshine and daisies.
Also
vomit.
No. Anybody out there who even remotely thinks that Morgan is filled with sunshine and daisies, just no. Just no. It's kind of like saying, never mind. It's kind of like saying...
I'm sure there was once a daisy in there. It's probably dried up and...
moldy.
I don't know, something, like it's hanging from the basement rafters of like the abandoned building.
And I am made up of unicorn and candy.
No. Yeah, all right. So this is fair. we passed that point.
I do. Okay. All right. What? Never mind.
Are you okay?
When we get to plugs, I'll tell you about a game, Steve, that I will be running. You may want to be part of it. You may not. I don't know. But this will probably be, we have a very special new player that will be joining us.
Ooh.
Yes.
Sounds exciting.
Little C.
Little C.
Yes.
Little C.
Little C. For those who know about Little C will be playing D&D.
I don't know what that means. So.
We will tune in next week. We will bring a picture of Little C.
All right.
If I can get one. If she allows me. She's a diva.
All I'm thinking of is Little Sebastian from Parks and Rec, and I'm like, I refuse. I will not sit at a table.
We actually follow Little C's Instagram.
Oh yeah.
We do, from our Instagram.
Okay.
If you go check it out.
So I'll just search Little C.
Yeah, just go pull it up.
All right.
And you'll see.
This sounds horrible. I'm like dreading this.
You don't. Don't, because it's going to be fun.
All right, so that brings us up to the next segment of the show, which is our quick notes and plugs. So, Steve, if you would please Tell the audience a little bit more about what you're up to and where they can find you.
So currently, I am the. You're not going to hear me DM. Oh, I'm sorry. First 2 seasons, you're going to hear me DM on the Copper Piece podcast, which you can find us at copperpiece.podcast.com.
Uh-huh.
You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play,
Okay.
whatever their podcast platform is, Spotify, every platform you can think of.
Okay.
We are on there.
How long have you been doing this?
We've been doing this for about almost 2 years now, actually. We're coming on to 2 years.
Wow.
I was just
Nice.
recording and editing and
Wow.
yelling at each other. And
There's always a lot of that.
Oh yeah. And yeah, that's where you'll find my stuff. Also Twitter at Agitated Stove, even though I've grown to become less agitated with my age. So I don't know what that says for me.
I was enjoying your Twitter handle before. I read that. I had a little laugh.
Yeah, at first I thought I spelled it wrong. Like, is this supposed to say Angry Steve? I was like, no, it's Angry Stove. All right, yeah, I'm good with that.
No, there's my family.
Agitated Stove.
My in-laws call me Stove. Like that's.
Okay.
Wait, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
So, for Copper Piece, do you recommend people start from episode 1? Are there multiple campaigns recorded in the podcast? Like, is there a jumping off point that you recommend people start from?
Yeah, the diving board.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're on our 3rd season. And
Okay.
Each season is a different adventure.
Okay.
First season's Curse of Strahd, where I am still learning how the books operate, because the books, even though they're great adventures and great modules, they're not always organized well. So that's the first point. That's the first season. The second season's a little homebrew, kind of bridged into the 3rd season, which my friend Chris actually DMs, and I'm a player.
Cool.
I am a half orc named Wumbo in that one.
Wumbo.
That's Orcish for Bob.
And
awesome.
That season, as a player, is probably one of my favorites. That's a really great season because you hear Chris just get angry so much.
That's fun. That's awesome. All right,
Also, our
well,
sound
cool.
goes way up in 3rd season, so.
All right. Very cool. So, Agitated Stove at Twitter.
Yes, we before we move on to the plugs, just so that everybody knows, please subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
And hit the little bell so you get a reminder when we're doing this again.
Yeah.
The other thing is that all of the links for everything that we've discussed are in the description. And yes, I thought I had a link in here for Dice Geeks.
I don't know.
Huh. All right. I'm going to have to get it, or at least I'll have to give them a plug, and then I think I was pretty sure I put it in the description.
Okay. I think you did.
All right. Anyway, so let's move on to other plugs.
Well, next up, we are going to be adding a review section to the Weekly Word. If you want us to review something in particular, drop it in the comments. Send us an email at socialmedia@lrhobbies.com. I checked that.
We actually have reviewed the basic box set for Shadowrun last week.
Yes.
So we're hoping in September we'll start reviewing some board games and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Or we'll even review modules.
Pathfinder
I'll play
2.
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Sure.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that sounds like a resounding no.
I'll do it. I'll be open-minded. It's fine. October Faction is a project our friend George Strayton just finished up that will be dropping in September on Netflix. We will be reminding you of this and pounding it into your head until it's out. And then after it's out, we will do it again and ask you what you thought.
Yes.
And we will be reviewing that. Sorry, George, we're going to review it.
I'm excited. Octocon is coming. It's going to be October 19th and 20th at the Bethpage Library. It's free. More information will be presented to you by us as it becomes available.
Yes, and I will also be tweeting out on our Twitter channel, apparently, because that's where you do these tweets. We'll be tweeting out information about Octocon as it comes up, so it'll be more than just hearing about the Weekly Word, but we will also reinforce that with the Weekly Word going on. Myself, Courtney, who's not here, and Dave VanderWerf, who's in our comments, and also does a weekly live stream on Facebook. He is running the whole thing, and we are helping coordinate it.
Very
so
cool.
Please go. It's free, and there'll be games and stuff. my daughter, will be running kids games
Yeah.
at
Awesome.
the library. So
Very cool.
she did good at the convention, so she'll do good here.
That's really cool.
LI Tabletop is getting its own expo at the Cradle of Aviation in April 2020. We do have there is actually a date, and we will give more information. Again, a social media campaign will start on that, and I will be tweeting more information on that. I will be helping out in whatever capacity I can or have been asked to, but we do know that we're looking to have a fun escape room. We're looking to have some sort of live dungeon, and sounds like we may have ABC Improv. And we may have a lot of sneezes, because there is some dust. I'm
A
sorry.
handful of sneezes.
Right. But I like the ABC Improv idea.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. I like
Yeah,
it.
ABC Adventure. That's going to be awesome. John would be perfect for it.
You know, I
And
have
he's
to
on.
say,
He's on, so he's listening.
he had been planning a game show for the tabletop gaming convention just this past August, and I was really looking forward to it. And then I got wrapped up in a Pathfinder game that went on for like 4.5 hours. Like, it was supposed to last 3, and like an hour
Yeah.
later, it was like, okay, we're gonna be wrapped up. I'm like, okay. And then we weren't wrapped up for like another 45 minutes, and it was such a good time. We really enjoyed ourselves playing. But also, I was like super devastated that I wasn't able to like be there for the game show, because I was like, we're going, don't you worry, we'll be there. We were not there. It was bad. So, oops.
That's all right. Actually,
oops.
I think part of John's problem, not that it was a problem, but I think the part of the issue was he didn't advertise it as much as he could have, and I think we want to do it again and help him get the advertising
That'd
out.
be great. That'd be really great.
I got to edit those videos. All right. So keep an eye out for new Long Island Tabletop Twitch and YouTube channel coming soon. There will be various streams and videos, both on Twitch and on YouTube, that will be out all about Long Island Tabletop. There'll be games. There'll probably be paint seminars. There'll be other things. As of yet, we haven't explored everything out there, but that team will be bringing the news, and we will be passing it out as much as we can. Thread Raiders, never mind, that passed. Thread Raiders hosted a charity event. We never took it out of the script.
Oops.
Sorry, but I did mention it last week, and I did tweet.
Yeah, you did.
I'm pretty sure I retweeted everything.
Okay.
Links for all subjects we covered tonight are in the video description. Before we move on, I would like to say that Dice Geeks has put out a new product, which I believe is linked in our description. If it's not, I will rectify that.
Okay.
But Dice Geeks has told us that he's got a new book out that's a random tables book. It's the Book of Random Tables Quests. It is on Amazon, it's available on Prime, and it's available for Kindle.
Cool.
It is $8 in paperback and $8 for Kindle.
Sweet.
And it is, if it's like his other books, you're going to love it. Random quests.
That's cool.
So, and I'm
That's
sure
really
it's not just like, here's a quest randomly. I'm sure it's pieces of quests putting it together. I haven't read it yet, so if I'm saying it wrong, please, I apologize, but I will.
I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, we're going to find out, because we're going to have Dice Geeks back on. He's got another book coming out next
Sweet.
week.
Very cool.
And then we'll have him on to talk about them.
All right.
And hopefully we can review some of those.
If you liked the topics we discussed today, please like the video. Click the subscribe button. Click on that bell so that you get notifications when we go live. It's not that hard.
It's really
We
not
can
that
do
hard.
this
We can.
together.
Just press the button. getting
Not
there.
together. You're going to have to do this on your own. I'm not coming over. So.
However, I'm probably available, so just send me a DM and I'll come over and I'll help you
Wow,
subscribe.
look at this. All right.
It's not a problem. Unless you're even if you're out of the country. You know what? I'll plan it.
Wow.
Just give me your account information. Give me your social security number, mother's maiden name. I got this.
If you would like to be a guest on the Weekly Word, direct message me on Twitter at LRTerrain or email me directly, rich.parla@lrhobbies.com. We are currently booking through October.
Whoa.
We're already booked up through September, and we're
That's
booking
wild.
into October. We never asked what Steve is reading, watching, or listening to.
Oh, let's pause this and go back to
Time out.
Steve.
Time out. Game off.
Steve,
Yes.
you almost got away with not owning up to what you are watching, reading, listening to.
But we'll do it quick because we are running out of time.
Yes.
Okay, watching. I am watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia again because
Nice.
apparently I missed the entire last season.
Oh.
I have no idea how that happened.
You were
I
sleeping.
am reading the Spawn and the Boys omnibuses.
Ooh.
I never read Spawn, and I was always interested, so
Oh,
I'm reading
yeah.
that. And the Boys, just because I watched the show on Amazon Prime, so I'm kind of catching up on the comic.
Very cool.
Way more graphic.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Way worse. And then listening, I am listening to a friendly podcast of ours called The Fellows Bold, so there's a plug there.
Cool.
They're pretty much the Welsh version of Copperpiece, so if you like that and really fancy accents, listen to
Ooh.
that.
Sweet.
Awesome. And then this one last one really quick. What didn't you say no to?
What didn't I say no to?
Yeah.
In game or in personal
No,
life?
in real
in
life.
real life.
In real life.
Something you probably should have said no to, or you know,
Or you're proud of the fact that you didn't, even though you might have wanted to.
yes.
Possible extra work. Doing this? No, kidding.
It's a completely acceptable answer if you.
It is. It is.
I mean, think of all the lists you'll be on now.
Actually, the real thing I should have said no to was rejoining WoW Classic.
Oh boy.
I should have said no.
Fair enough.
Boy. Oh
Wow.
boy.
Awesome.
Fair enough.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Quickly wrap this up.
Yes. So thank you for watching. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at LR Terrain. You can follow us on Instagram at Legendary Realms Games. You can find us on Patreon and become a patron by visiting patreon.com/theweeklyword.
I am Rich Parla.
I'm Morgan West.
And I'm Steve Esposito.
Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. Finally, someone got it right.
Yeah.
And we didn't even have to prompt them.
Until next week.
I've done this before. Not this, but this.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for joining us. Until
Have a
next
good
week,
week.
have a great week.
See ya.